Hi everyone. I hope you remember from our last class how hard we worked on finding the solutions for an equation. Take a minute to write down on your whiteboard what a solution is. I hope you remember that a solution to an equation is not an answer, but what it is the value that substitutes for a variable and makes the equation true. Now, what is the most important thing we need to remember when we're trying to find a solution to an equation, just like this one, 32 equals x minus 29. The most important thing to remember about an equation is that the two expressions must always be equivalent, so we must keep our equation in balance. And to begin to find the solution, we must focus on the expression that contains the variable on whatever side of the equal sign. In this particular equation, the x minus 29 is where we begin to look. Our first job is to get the x all by itself. Who remembers what to do? I hope you remember we need to do the opposite of minus 29, which would look like adding 29. And remember to keep the balance. If you add 29 to one side of the scale or equation, you must add 29 to the other side of the equation. Now your job is to simplify. The minus 29 plus 29 cancel each other out, just leaving x on the right side, and 32 plus 29 would make the solution 61. Remember, you can always check your solution by substituting 61 in for the x and making sure 61 minus 29 is equivalent to 32. Now I would like you to use the equation x plus 2.6 equals 6.4 and find the solution for x that makes the equation true. Hopefully you added or subtracted 2.6 from both sides of your equation, canceling out plus 2.6 and minus 2.6 to make x equaling 3.8 for your solution. Try out one more. 1.05 plus x equals 2.2. Hopefully, you subtracted 1.05 from both sides of your equation, simplifying to x equaling 1.15. Now, what if we have multiplication and division equations? Let's take a look at this video.
Hi, I'm Rob. Welcome to Mathematics. In our last video, we learned how to solve basic algebraic equations that only have one addition or one subtraction operation. In this video, we'll focus on equations that have only one multiplication or one division operation. Now, before we see some examples, do you remember the key strategy for solving an equation with an unknown value in it? Yep, we have to use arithmetic to rearrange the equation so that the unknown is all by itself on one side of the equal sign. And the most important thing to keep in mind while rearranging equations is that whenever we do something to one side of an equation, we have to do the same thing to the other side, or else the other side might get jealous. Hey, how come he got a cookie and I didn't? Actually, it's to keep the equation in balance. Now remember from the last video, in equations where a number was being added to an unknown, we had to subtract that number from both sides. But when a number was being subtracted from the unknown, we had to add that number to both sides. And that makes sense because, as we learned in the video called What is Arithmetic, addition and subtraction are inverse operations. They undo each other. But guess what? Multiplication and division are also inverse operations, so we can use them to undo each other too. If an unknown is being multiplied by a number, to undo that, we need to divide both sides by that number. But if an unknown is being divided by a number, to undo that, we need to multiply both sides by that number. Now, don't worry if that sounds a little confusing right now. It'll make a lot more sense after you've seen a few examples. Let's start with this one. 3x equals 15. Excuse me, I think you forgot something. Didn't you say that these equations were going to have multiple multiplication or division in them, but I don't see any arithmetic operator at all in this equation. Actually, I think you forgot something that we learned in the video, What is Algebra? You did watch that, right? Oh, sure, of course. But I just remembered I have something I gotta do. I'll be right back. Well, I'm sure you remember that multiplication is the default operation in algebra. So when you see a number and a symbol right next to each other like this, with no operation between them, it means they're being multiplied. So 3x is the same as 3 times x. Oh, and just a side note, since in multiplication, the order of the numbers doesn't matter, you could switch the order and write x3, but it's customary to always list the known number first and the unknown number second. Alright, but we need to solve this equation, right? That means we need to get the unknown, x, all by itself on one side of the equal sign. Right now, the x is not by itself because it's being multiplied by 3. So to undo that operation, we need to divide that side by 3. In algebra, we almost always write division in fraction form. So to divide this side by 3, we just write a fraction line under it, and we put a 3 below the line. There. This means 3 times x divided by 3. Don't forget our rule for rearranging equations. We have to do the exact same thing to the other side to keep the equation balanced. That's better. Now both sides are being divided by 3. The next step is to simplify. The 3 on the top and the 3 on the bottom on this side cancel, because 3 divided by 3 would just be 1. This is just like canceling common factors when you're simplifying a fraction. That leaves us with just x on this side. And on the other side, we have 15 divided by 3, which simplifies to 5. There. We've solved our equation by changing it into the simplified form, x equals 5.
What question might you have at this time?
Let's try another one just like that. 12x equals 96.
Go ahead and give this equation a try.
In this problem, the unknown is being multiplied by 12. So to get the x all by itself, we're going to need to divide both sides of the equation by 12. On the first side, the 12 on top and the 12 on bottom cancel out, leaving just x on that side. And on the other side, we need to divide 96 by 12. You might be able to do that by memory, but if not, you can use a calculator to divide. 96 divided by 12 is 8. So
Or not. You can use the side of your whiteboard or paper and solve the division problem.
this problem, x equals 8. But that's pretty easy, isn't it? Are you ready to try a division problem now? Here we have x divided by 2 equals 3. Now, when you see division written like this, from left to right with the traditional division symbol, I want you to rewrite it using the fraction form for division. That's because it's much easier to cancel common factors and simplify your equation when you use the fraction form. Now that we have it rewritten, let's solve it. We can see that the unknown is not by itself because it's being divided by 2. How can we get rid of or undo that division?
Who has an idea?
Yep, we can undo division with multiplication. So we need to multiply both sides of the equation by 2. Instead of writing the multiplication sign, I'm using the parentheses notation that we learned about in the video called What is Algebra? Remember, the multiplication is just implied. Now to simplify. On the first side, the 2 on top cancels out the 2 on the bottom, since 2 divided by 2 is just 1. And I know what some of you are thinking. How is there a 2 on top? The 2 looks like it's really in the middle, kind of like how a mixed number looks. That's true, but don't confuse this with a mixed number. Mixed numbers involve addition, but the parentheses let you know that the 2 and the x over 2 are being multiplied, since multiplication is the default operation. Okay, so it's not a mixed number, but how is the 2 on top? Well, you remember how you can turn any number into a fraction just by making 1 the bottom number? That means that 2 is the same as 2 over 1. Now you can see that the 2 really is on top. It's just that we don't usually show the 1 on the bottom. Alright then, so the 2's cancel, leaving get the x all by itself on this side. And on the other side, we have 3 times 2, which is just 6. So in this problem, x equals 6.
Thoughts, comments, questions?
So in this problem, x equals 6. That's not too hard either. Let's try another one. X over 10 equals 15.
Give it a try.
In this problem, since the x is being divided by 10, to get it by itself, we're going to need to multiply both sides of the equation by 10. On the first side, the 10's cancel, leaving x all by itself. And on the other side, we have 15 times 10, which is 150. So our answer is x equals 150. Great. That's how you solve simple equations where an unknown is being multiplied by a number or divided by a number.
Now I would like you to try the blue equation, 4x equals 44. I hope you decided to try and find the solution by dividing by 4 on both sides of your equations, so that we are able to cancel out the multiplication of 4 and the division of 4 and simplify to the solution x equals 11. Now try the green equation, x divided by 5 equals 15. The opposite of dividing by 5 is multiplying by 5, so you should have multiplied both sides by 5. The 5's cancel each other out and leave us with x equaling 75. How about this equation? X divided by 11 equals 5.5. To find the solution, you should have multiplied both sides by 11, enabling us to cancel out 11 divided by 11, and leaving us with a solution of x equaling 60.5. Let's try a few more. Try the blue one, 8x equals 112. We divide both sides by 8, cancel out, and our solution is x equals 14. Now the green, x divided by 9 equals 13. The opposite of dividing by 9 is multiplying by 9, so both sides should be multiplied by 9. This lets us cancel the opposites, dividing and multiplying by 9, and simplifying to x equals 117. One more. 17x equals 153. Divide both sides by 17. Cancel out 17 divided by 17, and simplify to x equaling 9. Now I would like you to give this a try on your own.